Okay, we'll continue our discussion. Once again, I'm sharing my screen. So we stopped the discussion here at this point. So this is the summary of the slide of the previous slide, the same one. So by this enzyme complex, with the help of E1, E2, E3, and TPP, lipoate, then CoA, FAD, and NADH, this pyruvate is converted into acetyl CoA. Then, so here we want to see the same thing I have written in words. So in step 1, the pyruvate reacts with the thymine pyrophosphate with the help of this enzyme, and this will so the carbon dioxide is removed. And then this TPP is getting reduced and it is oxidized with the help of trans-acetylase E2. The same thing what I have discussed all this time. You can just read it. It's a self-explanatory slide. So I'm moving further. So here we are going to discuss how to regulate this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So we know that pyruvate dehydrogenase has 3 subunits, that is E1, E2. So out of these three, this enzyme E1 is highly regulated. This enzyme E1 is highly regulated by either phosphorylation or dephosphorylation via secondary messengers such as the cyclic AMP, and this is done with the help of 2 more enzymes, that is pyruvate dehydrogenase kinase and pyruvate dehydrogenase phosphatase. So as we already discussed, so kinase is an enzyme which will phosphorylate the compounds. So this the kinase not only phosphorylates compounds, but it can also phosphorylate the enzymes. So because all the enzymes are certain compounds, right? So this pyruvate dehydrogenase kinase will phosphorylate this enzyme E1 so that it gets inactivated. It is getting inactivated or it is inhibiting. Next, so how it is inhibiting this enzyme? E1 by phosphorylating the enzyme. So phosphorylating means addition of phosphate groups. Addition of phosphate groups will cause this E1 to inhibit. But on the opposite, this pyruvate dehydrogenase phosphatase. Phosphatase means will remove the phosphates. Phat means removing. So it can remove the phosphates that have been added by this kinase. It will remove so that it is activated again, and it will continue to convert pyruvic acid into acetyl-CoA. So this is what happens. So how it stimulates? By dephosphorylating the enzyme. So the phosphates that have been added by this kinase are removed so that this enzyme will get activated and will convert pyruvate into acetyl-CoA. Now, this enzyme, so stimulating this enzyme, that is a pyruvate dehydrogenase kinase. If stimulate this enzyme, this will get inhibited. E1 is inhibited, and if we stimulate this enzyme, this E1 is activated. So if kinase is stimulated, E1 is inhibited. If phosphatase is stimulated, E1 is stimulated. So it's quite opposite side. So if we want to regulate this pyruvate kinase, definitely we should know how to regulate this pyruvate kinase and pyruvate dehydrogenase phosphatase. If we can regulate these two, automatically this enzyme is regulated. If this enzyme is regulated, the whole is regulated. So this is the enzyme which is highly regulated by these two enzymes, either by phosphorylating or dephosphorylating. But in order to stimulate or inhibit this PD kinase, so if you want to regulate this PD kinase, we require certain molecules. Those molecules are, so first of all, we'll see how to regulate this PD kinase. This PD kinase can be stimulated by NADH. So why NADH? Because in the third stage, we have a lot of NADHs. At the third enzyme, we have lot of NADHs. So as the level of NADHs increases, this will automatically stimulate this kinase enzyme, this PD kinase. If PD kinase is stimulated, this will inhibit E1. So this is what number one, regulatory factor. Number two, ATP. So if there is lot of NADH, definitely there is lot of ATP. If there is lot of ATP, then this will stimulate this kinase. If this kinase is stimulated, this will inhibit E1. Third one, if there is lot of acetyl-CoA, then this will stimulate this PD kinase. If PD kinase is stimulated, definitely E1 is inhibited. Next, on the contrary, so till now we have seen how this enzyme can be stimulated. Now we are going to see how this enzyme is inhibited. For example, if there is lot of coenzyme A, if there is a lot of coenzyme A, this will inhibit this enzyme. If this enzyme is inhibited, then this is stimulated. If this is inhibited, this is stimulated. So if this is inhibited, what happens? This will not phosphorylate this enzyme. If this enzyme is not phosphorylated, then it will convert pyruvate into CoA. This is what. So acetyl-CoA will be stimulating PD kinase, whereas coenzyme A will be inhibiting PD kinase. Number two, pyruvate. So if there is lot of pyruvate, this will inhibit PD kinase. If PD kinase is inhibited, this will function normally. Third one, if there is a lot of NAD plus, if there is a lot of NAD plus, this NAD plus will inhibit PD kinase. If PD kinase is inhibited, then E1 will function normally. Now, second case. This is one enzyme where we can stimulate or inhibit. Now, one more thing. Now we should talk about this pyruvate dehydrogenase phosphatase. So here, if ATP is present, if more amount of ATP is present, this will stimulate this PD kinase. What happens if there is a lot of ADP? So if there is a lot of ADP and we require a lot of ATP. Now, this enzyme, this is ADP, this ADP will inhibit this enzyme. If this is inhibited, then this will function normally, and hence we get lot of acetyl-CoA. So calcium or magnesium can stimulate this, so that this is activated and we get the acetyl-CoA. Now there is a secondary hormonal regulation is there for this enzyme. So insulin via cyclic AMP can stimulate this phosphate enzyme, so that it will stimulate this one and it continues the reaction. Now, this pyruvate dehydrogenase is directly inhibited by NADH and ATP. This is directly inhibited by NADH and ATP. Have you seen these two? Yes, here they are. Instead of stimulating this enzyme, they can directly regulate this by E1, these two, NADH and ATP. So this is how all the compounds will regulate the PDH complex. And these two are direct inhibitors of E1, as well as they are the indirect inhibitors of pyruvate dehydrogenase kinase. And this is the whole story, how we can convert pyruvic acid into acetyl-CoA, and how this process of this transition stage is regulated by various compounds. So I am putting an end to this here. Then so this is where I'm concluding the class today. We'll continue in the next class. So in the next class, we'll be discussing about Krebs cycle. So because now we have all the ingredients for Krebs cycle, that is acetyl-CoA is there. From pyruvic acid, we have got the acetyl-CoA. So with acetyl-CoA, we can start the Krebs cycle. So we'll continue with Krebs cycle in the next class.